Gras. Welcome to Passion Time. I'm here with Eric Cristofer. He's a novelist and has written the latest book is on an American family, portrait of an American family. It's called The Circle. He worked in the State Department for over 30 years, and he's dedicating a lot of time to writing now. But I want to know, first of all, you worked in the State Department, you've lived all over the world. How did you find your passion, and how are you living your passion?
Well, my passion really is relationships and meeting people and creating connection with people. And so part of the reason I wrote this book was to explore personal transformation as it manifests itself through relationships over time.
Now, this book is one of the, I just couldn't stop reading it. And I think that I loved it because of the people, the characters, and their relationships. So share with us a little bit about the book and why you decided to focus on an American family and not a Chinese or a Korean or...
Well, the family, as you go through the book, you'll find that people come in and out of the main character's life. But the main characters, I've tried to build into their lives the level of complexity one has when they come in contact with different people with different ideas. So I thought that using a platform where the family is based in the East Coast, but they have significant presence in Texas, and there's also a foreign component. The main character's mother's from Ireland,
right.
And I served in Ireland while I was in the Foreign Service and got to love the country and studied a lot about the culture. So I've pulled all that together, and again, it's driven by relationships, important relationships in the lives of the main character.
The main character is a young man, and he basically is the narrator of the story. He seems like a very kind of wishy-washy character. There's some characters in your book that are very kind and very solid, like his mother and his father, and yet, there's some evil characters like his grandfather and his grandfather's daughter, his aunt. And yet somehow, what you managed to do in this book is show that the complexity of people. Because this young man is constantly struggling with good and evil, right? You love that.
That's the idea of dealing with moral dilemmas as part of the personal transformation narrative that I'm building into the story. And I think we all face that. I know I faced that growing up as well. And I also wanted to talk about some of the pathologies that can emerge when you have relationships without a moral compass. So his family, without giving away too much about the story,
right.
the family business is very questionable in terms of the moral leanings and the business practices. And it's all about power dynamics and how those power dynamics drive the impulse and the motivation of the family.
Now, when you read this book, you kind of get the feeling that you're focusing on a family that's a very powerful political family. It seems to me that this family, and we've kind of heard these conspiracy theories, right? Mm-hmm. These families like the Roosevelts and, these very wealthy families, that the Rockefellers, that somehow they're the ones that decide what's going to happen in the United States and around the world because they have the power. And that's why you named the Circle. The Circle is made up. I want you to share with us who the Circle is and where did you get these ideas?
Lots of research, a lot of reading of other novelists, and the idea is that there are groups within groups, and there are circles of power, and there's sort of an inner circle, and I talk about the 12. There are 12 people, including the main character's grandfather, who have enormous power in various sectors, whether it's banking, in the defense industry, in media, and what they do is they coordinate their activities to move things in a certain direction. Then there's another circle of people who support them, and then finally there's the rest of us who are sort of like we're the consumers of the product that they deliver, whether it's economic products, media products, whether it's goods and services and financial products.
Do you believe that this is true, maybe somewhat true, that there are families or people powerful enough to make decisions that affect all of us and we don't even know who they are? Because really, what you show in this book is that the family decides who the president is going to be.
Well, it's nice for fiction and a narrative. I don't think that in real life things work quite as well because there's so many variables that are difficult to control. So most things just sort of emerge as these variables intersect. But for the purpose of fiction, I decided to make it a little bit cleaner around the edges and to give these individuals a little bit more power. But at the same time, they still struggle with decision making and relationships because they're constantly jockeying for position within the circle, within the family.
Yeah, it's very true. Now, the main character, he dates, he's a white, Anglo-Saxon, very wealthy, established young man. He starts dating a girl who's biracial.
Right.
I think she's black and Asian.
Right.
And she has a very strong moral compass. She's a journalist, and she really believes in the story. Throughout the story, he looks up to her, but he can't make a decision whether he should really be with her because the family rejects the fact that she is biracial. She's
Right.
not, what he's supposed to marry.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that you had to bring this particular character into the story?
That's a very good question, and I'm thinking it follows the evolution of our society demographically. This used to be, the United States was a very white male dominated society, and so the main character he projects that. But the demographics are changing, and so we have other groups that are emerging within the power relationship of this society and are asserting their voice. So she is representative of this demographic change. She's a very strong person with a very strong moral compass. Her mother's an immigrant. So, and you have those demographic dynamics that are coming into play. And also the main character's mother is part of the older immigration group. She's Irish. So I wanted to demonstrate the interplay of those different values throughout the story.
It's very interesting. Now, there's another character that I really find fascinating because he kind of represents those characters that, like I said, they were very complex. There's some evil there, but there's also goodness, which is kind of the human nature, right? Nobody's completely perfect and nobody's completely, well, some people are completely evil, but I won't mention names. But the character is Oscar.
Oscar.
He is the main character's kind of best friend. Now he's sort of a lone gun kind of guy. He defends the family no matter what. He's completely loyal, but he's willing to kill for any. He's willing to assassinate if he needs to, and at the same time, he's the most loyal character in the book. Really, how did you come up with that character? And I won't say how he ends up, but I just found that character very, kind of made me uncomfortable.
That's exactly what I wanted to do because I was uncomfortable creating the character. The family, because of the business it's involved in, they had to have someone who's a fixer for them or someone who can make
who will assassinate for them, yeah.
So I wanted to delve into what makes these kinds of people tick. I didn't want to make him a two-dimensional like evil character. I wanted to give him a level of complexity so that you ask questions about what motivates these people.
Right.
So loyalty, you mentioned loyalty, but at the same time he becomes in many ways a surrogate father to the main character.
To the main character, yes.
And he informs the main character's values in another way than some of the more
bad things.
Yes, than some of the other members of the family who are very powerful because this guy comes from humble beginnings as well, and he was in the military, South African military as a special operator. So he comes from this different background and brings a different perspective. So I kind of wanted to bring that into it so you have questions. It's interesting that you mentioned that because some people found themselves liking him but being uncomfortable liking him.
Yeah. That's exactly how I felt. All right, Eric Cristofer, the title of the book is The Circle, Portrait of an American Family. You do have a website if people want to get more information?
You can, I'm on Twitter, so it's at Eric Cristofer1. Please, if you get the book, please communicate with me. I'm working on possibly writing a sequel.
I think you should write a sequel, okay. Yes, absolutely. Because it's ongoing. The relationships are ongoing.
Thank you.
And good luck on your next one, on your next novel. All right, I'll see you next week on Passion Time.
All the characters are compendium characters of people that I have known throughout my life. And so they're composites. Because I want them to have complexity, so I took an element from this person and an element from another person, and I combined them.
Okay. So how much? 20. 20? With tax?
Cambia tu vida. Cambia tu vida. Cambia tu vida. Yo sé que tú puedes, que tú eres capaz. Cambia tu vida. La vida es una y tú vas a triunfar. Cambia tu vida. Con fe y esperanza, las puertas